Scary video.
Old cars, bedsteads, weaved hidden depths. Under the water there are traps. Old cars, bedsteads, weaved hidden depths. It's the perfect place for an accident.
On the 29th of June 2025, a group of teenagers ventured into the Miriam River in Bacabal, Brazil, for a quick morning swim. But after several minutes in the water, the group started to realize that one of its members, 13-year-old Raissa, was no longer beside them. And after calling out her name and searching the surrounding area, the realization set in. Raissa had disappeared. It was now likely somewhere in that murky water around them. The news sent shockwaves throughout the community, and straight away locals filled the area to help find this girl. But their attempts were all futile. And with each passing moment, it grew more and more likely that Raissa had tragically drowned, with the search efforts shifting to recovery efforts the next morning. The tragedy led to various news stations arriving on the scene to help document the search, and for one reporter, Lenildo Frazao, he couldn't help but view Raissa's story as a cautionary tale. The Miriam River is particularly unassuming from the surface, which is exactly what made it so dangerous, since it carried with it an unexpectedly strong current and a bottom that was littered with sudden drop-offs, as even in shallow sections, one step could plunge you into deep water without warning. As a result, tragedies like this had sadly happened here before, and for Lenildo, this was the perfect time to highlight the river's dangers, in the hope of preventing one from ever happening again. And he had a unique idea to help achieve this. Rather than just explaining how dangerous the river was, Lenildo wanted to demonstrate it, and so he began to take off his shoes and his pants before entering the water, with his microphone in his hand.
Foi justamente aqui, pessoal. Nós vamos entrar agora na água aqui para mostrar para vocês o local. Olha, a gente já vê que aqui a água é muito forte, ó. E vai descendo, ó. Vixe Maria, vai descendo aqui, viu? Ó.
The camera rolled as he waded into the river, at first going just to the depths of his knees, before the riverbed began to drop beneath him, sending the water all the way up to his chest.
Então, pessoal, e aí ainda tem a correnteza. Aqui já, olha, ó, passinho para frente, a água já tá praticamente.
And all while this happened, he spoke to the viewers at home about how unsafe this area could be, especially for unattended children who weren't strong swimmers. But even with most of his body now submerged, he wanted to take it even further in order to prove his point. And so he continued wading towards the center of the river, right in the direction of the noticeably fast-moving current, until suddenly...
Olha, andei pouquinho aqui, ó. A água já tá acima do meu peito, para você ver a situação. Se eu andar pouquinho aqui, deixa eu ver aqui. Ó, vou andar mais. Ó a fundura aqui, ó. Ui.
Lenildo physically recoiled and let out a loud yell. He stood there for a moment, anxiously glaring into the water, before telling his crew, "I think there's something down here underwater." Whatever he had touched in those murky depths didn't seem natural, with Lenildo describing it as being soft. And quickly, he made his way back to the shore, where he further explained why he was so shaken by the ordeal, admitting that what he stepped on felt like an arm. This is the exact moment that many believe Raissa was found, as just moments later, several locals would retrace Lenildo's steps and discover the 13-year-old's body in the same exact location. Raissa had died from an accidental drowning, as she wasn't a strong swimmer, and had likely fallen into the deep water where she was held down by the current, the exact conditions that Lenildo had been warning the viewers about, when he unknowingly stepped on her corpse, with the entire ordeal culminating into what can only be described as one of the darkest moments in television history.
How far and what lengths have you gone to find these plants? Seems alright, but I'm not a doctor.
I thought that dude was going to get swept away.
They're just like you and me, but together they are a source of endless fascination.
And we'll conduct a rigorous scientific experiment into twin telepathy.
Take care out on the street. Use your head and then your feet.
It was a peculiar sight. As traffic flowed through one of the UK's busiest roadways, the M6, CCTV cameras captured two women walking down the narrow median, with a vehicle speeding past them on either side. These women were Sabina and Ursula Eriksson, 40-year-old identical twin sisters who grew up in Sweden, with Ursula eventually moving to the US and Sabina to Ireland. Just one day before this footage was taken, on May 16, 2008, Ursula had made the long flight to visit Sabina at her home in Dublin. But things got off to a troubling start when Sabina got into a verbal altercation with her husband and the father of her two kids, prompting both sisters to leave the house in the middle of the night without telling anyone. The next morning, the sisters emerged in the city of Liverpool, where they visited a police station and reported that Sabina's kids were in danger and were unsafe in her husband's care. Law enforcement briefly looked into the matter, but ultimately they didn't seem all too concerned with the children's well-being, and rather they seemed more troubled by the women themselves. Their behavior was just somewhat off, so much so that shortly after leaving the station, they were kicked off a public bus for exhibiting erratic behavior, which some passengers found threatening. And after the altercation, this erratic behavior continued, as for unknown reasons, the pair began walking towards the M6, and then eventually right onto it, where we see them now. It defied any sort of logic, and put them in an extremely dangerous position, a position where one wrong move could lead to a horrific accident. And sure enough, that's exactly what would happen, though it was anything but accidental. Without warning, both women turned and then ran directly into the road, and for Sabina, directly into a car traveling in the fast lane. Immediately, local police were inundated with urgent calls about the ordeal, leading to a group of officers being dispatched to the scene, and coincidentally, the same group just so happened to have a camera crew following them as part of the show Motorway Cops. The show follows traffic officers as they handle their many daily encounters, ranging from mundane traffic infractions all the way to devastating tragedies, and this segment seemed destined for the latter.
Lane 3 is obviously the fastest lane in the motorway. Anyone being hit, you're expecting serious injury, if not life-threatening.
Despite the officers fearing the worst, however, when they arrived on the scene, they were met with a surprising sight. Standing there before them was Ursula and Sabina, who despite being struck by a car at high speeds, appeared completely unharmed. In fact, both sisters were entirely calm, as they were shown casually speaking amongst themselves as if nothing ever happened. It was a miracle, and as the officers began trying to piece together the cause of this whole ordeal, everyone at the scene began to breathe a collective sigh of relief. There was no way that any of them could have known that their roles had just been cast in one of the most disturbing television scenes of all time.
Right, what we've got is they were in the central res. They were trying to cross the Bravo, so as we approached, they hadn't seen us, mother. The red one's got knocked down by the red car over there. I've got an ambulance en route for her. Right. She seems all right, but I'm not a doctor. She has been knocked down.
Is she the one that speaks English or the other one?
Yes.
Right.
The other one, she's the...
Without a single word being spoken, Ursula dashed into the middle of oncoming traffic and directly into the path of a massive truck traveling at over 60 miles per hour. It happened in a literal instant. There was hardly any chance to react, and before anyone could even begin to process what they had just witnessed, Sabina would also run into the road, not after her sister, but rather straight into the path of an oncoming Volkswagen.
The other one, she's gonna run...
Oh no! Mike Alpha, we need ambulance, senior officers to the scene, we've got 2 possible fatals.
Within just seconds, this completely calm scene had turned to utter chaos, and both women were now lying on the pavement. Miraculously, they both were still alive. Sabina was stable but knocked unconscious, while Ursula was in rough shape. Her legs had been pulverized by the truck, with paramedics describing them as looking as if they had exploded. And while she lay there on the pavement, she was wide awake and experiencing everything. Within seconds of receiving medical attention, Ursula began to cry out. But strangely, it wasn't in pain. Rather, she was yelling at the paramedics, cursing and even attacking them for trying to help her.
Calm down.
Fucking asshole.
Calm down. Mine's very aggressive, spitting at me.
Shouting things like, "I recognize you. I know you're not real."
Come on, you've hit your head. Calm down. We are the police. We are the police.
It was clear that she was suffering from some sort of delusion, but while officers had their hands full trying to subdue her, things were about to get even more hectic as Sabina started to regain consciousness.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
She had been brutally struck by a car, as evidenced by the damage to the vehicle itself. But like Ursula, she also appeared almost entirely unfazed, as she stood up and began to scream to her sister, "They're going to steal your organs." One of the officers tried to hold her back, but Sabina resisted.
Stay still. Feel me.
Oscar Tango 33.
Eventually shoving the woman to the ground, before once again taking off into oncoming traffic.
No! Stay!
There's no way this is real.
Stay there! Calm down, calm down, calm down!
Thankfully, this time the cars managed to avoid her, but it would take 6 officers to finally restrain her, and even with that many people, it was still a struggle, as her strength was unlike anything that they had seen in a woman her size. And with Sabina now subdued, the chaos was finally over. In the following moments, Ursula was airlifted to a local hospital where she underwent an extensive, yet successful emergency surgery, while Sabina was shockingly found to have no injuries, which allowed her to be discharged into police custody after just 5 hours, where she was promptly arrested and sentenced to 1 day in prison for assaulting an officer, as well as trespassing on the motorway. And with both women now safe, one question burned at the forefront of everyone's minds. Why had the Erickson twins done this? Well, the immediate theory was that this was all the result of drug use. But surprisingly, when given toxicology tests, no drugs or alcohol would be found in either of their systems. They were entirely sober during this ordeal, which left only one plausible theory, that this was all the result of some sort of mental breakdown, with both women somehow experiencing its effects at the same time. Today, this case is used as one of the most glaring examples of a psychological disorder known as folie à deux, in which one person suffering from delusions transmits said delusions onto a different person, leading to both people experiencing the same misconstrued version of reality. And while this is only a theory, it's clear that regardless of the how or why, these women were extremely mentally unwell during this event. In fact, during the TV program, an officer even mentioned that this could be a 136.
Yeah.
Is she under arrest, ladies?
Well, 136 if she is.
Which is a code that allows law enforcement to hold people on account of their mental health to assure that they're safe to return to the public. But shockingly, not only did this never happen, but Sabina was released without ever being given a mental health assessment. In fact, she was never so much as looked over by a mental health professional, and was instead released the very next day after the incident. On top of this, when she was released, she was given no information about Ursula's whereabouts or her condition, or even resources to help find her way home, leaving Sabina still mentally unwell and now stranded in an unfamiliar city, not knowing what happened to her sister. And sadly, her delusions were far from over. As she left the police station on the 19th of May, Sabina had nowhere to go, and so she began to wander, carrying her belongings in the same evidence bag that the police had given her earlier that day. Eventually, she would happen across 2 men walking their dogs, and as she stopped to pet them, Sabina asked the owners where the nearest hotel was. But seemingly recognizing that the woman wasn't well, one of the men, Glenn Hollinshed, offered to have her stay at his place, to which Sabina happily obliged. But once inside Hollinshed's home, Sabina began acting extremely paranoid, checking the windows constantly and believing that her cigarettes had been poisoned. Despite this though, Hollinshed was patient, and he helped her make calls around the area to track down Ursula, while making sure that Sabina was eating and drinking. The following day, Hollinshed was preparing dinner for Sabina when he stepped out of the house to ask his neighbor for tea, but just minutes after returning home with the bags, he would once again step out of the house, only this time, he was completely covered in blood, as he stumbled and screamed, "She stabbed me." As he collapsed to the ground, the neighbor rushed over to try and help, but the damage was already done. Hollinshed would let out one final soft whisper, saying, "Look after my dog for me," before breathing his final breath. For unknown reasons, in that house, Sabina had stabbed Glenn Hollinshed, and by the time law enforcement arrived, she was long gone, having fled the house with a hammer in her hand, which she used to strike her head repeatedly as she mumbled incoherently and walked down the sidewalk. Eventually, a man passing by tried to intervene, but Sabina immediately attacked, brandishing a roof tile that she had hidden in her pocket and using it to strike him on the head, nearly knocking him unconscious. It would take several minutes for police to finally catch up with her, but just like the day prior, she took off, leading to a chase that ended with Sabina being surrounded on a 40-foot tall bridge that passed over a highway, and recognizing that there was nowhere left for her to go, she jumped. Somehow, Sabina would cheat death once again, and despite suffering 2 broken ankles and a skull fracture, she was alive. And after a lengthy recovery, she was put on trial for the murder of Glenn Hollinshed, where she would never give a single comment as to why she did what she did, leaving her motive a total mystery to this day. Though it seems clear that it was at least partially a result of her delusions, with the defense pointing to Folie à Deux as a potential explanation. And in the end, it was deemed that Sabina was not mentally fit to make decisions at the time of the slaying, and ultimately, she was given a prison sentence of just 5 years. This is truly one of the most disturbing TV cases of all time, and for as shocking as it is on its own, what I find most chilling is the fact that these officers mentioned holding her for a psychiatric evaluation, which ultimately never happened.
Is she under arrest, David?
Well, 136 if she is.
It was a massive oversight. In fact, it was so glaring that the police department allegedly contacted the show and asked them to remove this entire section, as if they had just followed through with that code 136, Sabina would have been held for longer than just 1 night, which meant that she not only may have been given the help she needed, but she also never would have had the chance to meet Glenn Hollinshed that fateful day. Since her release from prison in 2011, Sabina promptly disappeared from the public eye, and neither she nor Ursula has ever been heard from again, meaning we have no idea whatever happened to the Eriksson twins.
They just simply tend to be making the same decisions at the same times. They're thinking in the same way.
It's December 2021. A couple receives a warm welcome as they walk onto the stage, ready to compete in the Croatian television show Super Talent, the country's version of America's Got Talent. But it's clear this excitement from the crowd wasn't shared by the show's host, who turned to someone standing behind the camera and flashed the unmistakable look of concern. In the minutes prior, the audience at home was introduced to the pair, 34-year-old singer Roman Bernata and his wife, 44-year-old violinist Bianca Kolumpar, along with their child, who would be watching on as the two shared their musical talents with the world. In their day-to-day lives, Roman was a professional goalkeeper for a local soccer team, while Bianca was a professional violinist with a doctorate in music. And while on paper this all seems fairly normal, it was immediately clear to those watching that this couple was anything but. The two frequently went on long-winded and bizarre rants, with Bianca opening up about her breast enlargement surgery.
Ja sam imala kao cura velike grudi, velika mi je bila želja da to vratim, operirala sam.
And the two discussing at length their belief in a living God who walked the earth.
Ali ja osjetim, stvarno imam taj kontakt sa živim Bogom i mislim da je Bog svugdje oko nas, da je Bog osoba, energija, istovremeno, da.
But it was their performance itself that proved to be the strangest part of their time on the show.
Pozdrav svima.
Dobro večer.
Vi se mene ne sjećate, jel da?
Ja?
Ne. Prije puno godina.
Aha, ja se nas sjećam kad sam snimala
škola, jel ide Hardor, ide? Je, ja se ispričavam, ali stvarno moram vas to pitati.
Roman's introduction was fairly uncomfortable, as he made mention of a time that he had met one of the judges years before, who clearly had no recollection of the encounter, which seemed to frustrate him, as his demeanor quickly became hostile.
Ko je vaš talent? S čim ste se došli
Ja nemam nikakav talent.
Pa šta ste onda došli?
Radit.
Ali potpuno nebitno, emisija se zove Super Talent,
ja vas
kolegica...
dečki volim, nemojte mi zamjeriti.
Alo, polako, mislim da ipak ćemo mi ovdje voditi riječ.
Može, pa...
Leading to Roman receiving his first X before he even sang a single note.
Ako je kolegica pitala koji je vaš talent, a naša emisija se zove Super Talent, a vi tvrdite da nemate talent, onda vas ja pitam pošto ste došli.
Radit. Okej, hvala, može.
It was a rough start for the couple, and by the time they did get to perform, things only got worse.
And now, the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. Like the
Šta da radim? Ludilo.
Admittedly, the couple didn't sound awful, but it was clear the judges were frustrated by Roman's demeanor, prompting all four of them to hit their X, signaling the end of the couple's performance. Or at least they thought.
And in it, my
as the two just kept on performing, playing over the sounds of the judges shouting their name and the deafening silence from the crowd. With the two going until a producer finally had to step in from behind the camera and officially cut them off. But even then, the couple continued their antics, this time by protesting the judge's decision, with Bianca even threatening to go to the newspaper and expose their behavior to the press, all while Roman stood angrily to the side, glaring at the panel before him. And with that, Roman and Bianca's time on Super Talent was over, and they not only walked away without receiving the grand prize, but they also left with shattered reputations, as this segment became notorious among fans of Super Talent, with the couple being considered one of the most unusual acts to ever feature on the show. But despite its virality, this performance isn't what Roman is most widely remembered for today. On February 6th, 2022, residents in Rijeka, Croatia were met with the sight of a fully nude man wandering the city streets. It was Roman Bernata, and while most stared on in amusement, laughing to themselves and snapping photos, what they were witnessing was actually one of the most disturbing events the city had ever seen. After his disastrous performance just 1 year prior, Roman continued to pursue a career in singing, taking every opportunity he could to share his music with the world, often joining Bianca on her YouTube channel, and singing on the streets for tips, where he actually made a decent amount of money, though because of his notorious television moment, he would often be harassed and even have the money he earned stolen from him. One day, while performing outside of a local soup kitchen, he was introduced to a woman named Darnika Krevic, a 67-year-old who relied on the soup kitchen for consistent meals. And after hearing Roman sing, she became a legitimate fan of his music, leading to the two striking up a friendship. And despite Darnika not having much, she offered to take Roman to a local coffee shop on February 6th, 2022, where she treated him to a warm cup of tea on a cold winter day. And so the two sat inside a restaurant called the Cafe Pin, with everything seeming completely normal, until a server noticed that Roman started to look almost sickly, like he could barely keep himself upright, as his body was starting to slump over the table, his eyes barely open. The server rushed over to help, but Roman recoiled and shouted, "Just try calling the police on me." And so, not wanting to escalate things, the server left, only returning later to drop off their check, which is when Roman's behavior took an even more drastic turn. He began feeling around his pants pocket for his wallet, before looking desperately around the table, but there was no sign of it. And so he grabbed Darnika's bag and rifled through it, before yelling, "You snake, you whore, where's my wallet?" Though when he still couldn't find it in Darnika's bag, his anger turned to violence, as he stood up and rushed Darnika, grabbing her by the head and shaking her, screaming in her face, accusing her of being a thief. This time, multiple people inside the cafe rushed over to hold him back, but Roman was too strong, too angry, and with seemingly no effort at all, he pushed everyone away, completely unfazed by their attempts. In that moment, no one could have stopped Roman. Darnika was entirely helpless, and so the crowd inside the cafe watched as Roman grabbed her by the neck and dragged her behind the bar, and then proceeded to kick, then stomp, and then jump directly on her, over and over again, each time landing on her head. It was a rage so demented that he actually began to smile a wide manic grin as he jumped and chanted, "Whore, witch, die." After what felt like an eternity, Roman stopped, before sprinting out of the restaurant, leaving Darnika entirely unrecognizable and dead on the floor. The same floor where, just feet away, Roman's wallet lay, having innocently fallen out of his pocket shortly before. Outside, Roman removed his blood-soaked clothes and walked completely naked into the city center, much to the amusement of the passerbys who had no idea what he had just done, until eventually he made his way into a nearby police station and blankly stated, "I am not well." This sentiment was true in so many regards. Roman hadn't been well for quite a long time. Since a young age, it's believed he had dealt with undiagnosed schizophrenia that had led to uncontrollable anger issues, before developing an alcohol and substance abuse problem that only exacerbated his symptoms. And by the time he was an adult, Roman became so delusional that he believed he was a disciple sent from God to touch the world with his music, something that he eventually convinced Bianca of as well. So in their Super Talent episode, when Bianca mentioned their love for a living God that walked the earth, she was likely referencing Roman.
Ali ja osjetim, stvarno imam taj kontakt sa živim Bogom i mislim da je Bog svugdje oko nas, da je Bog osoba, energija, znači sve. Istovremeno, da.
Roman was severely unwell, and no one in his life was keeping him in check. In fact, those closest with him were only feeding his delusions, with all of his issues coming to a head on the day of the incident. And when he realized his wallet was gone, Roman rushed to assume that Darnika was the one who robbed him, perhaps as a result of having his money stolen frequently on the streets. But the sad reality was, in a sea of people trying to exploit and mock Roman, Darnika was one of the few who actually truly cared about him and legitimately believed in his talents. And yet, he killed her in one of the most evil ways imaginable, all over a simple misunderstanding that was entirely his fault. In the end, Roman Bernardo was deemed unfit to stand trial and was never sentenced to serve any jail time, instead being given a 40-year sentence in a mental health facility, where he's since been described as a model patient, with his good behavior awarding him the opportunity to leave the facility for days at a time for therapeutic purposes.
Nature is king here. Man can only watch and be humble.
There's nothing out there.
Bro, this shit creepy as fuck. No, this one's funny.
Okay, think I can't do it? I know.
Don't want to do this.
Come on, motherfucker.
Okay,
You think I can't do it? I know.
Don't
I
want
got
to
a
do
black
this.
belt in karate, a black belt in judo.
When he went to work early on the morning of May 9th, 2023, Officer Christopher Rains of the Port Orange Police Department had no idea that he would end up in a fight for his life against a master martial artist. This encounter that you're about to witness is one of the craziest we've ever seen. Most of the following footage has never been seen before. As a routine morning drifted into afternoon, things took a bizarre turn. Port Orange Dispatch received a call in reference to a disturbed man loitering at the Puff and Stuff Smoke Shop at 4020 Nova Road in Port Orange, Florida.
So I have this gentleman that has been coming in and out of my shop, making me very uncomfortable and making other people uncomfortable. And he is like not leaving the plaza, and I kind of want to get him removed away from the plaza because I'm here by myself and I don't feel comfortable.
Officer Rains responds to the scene. Before he can enter the store, however, a man attempts to grab his attention.
Officer, I have a question.
I'll be with you in a second.
Brushing him aside for now, the officer learns more about his absolutely bizarre behavior.
I called about him causing a disturbance, and he's come in here quite a few times already, and has bothered me and customers, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And he likes to grab things and try and come behind the counter. So, kind of want him trespassed. Like, he just keeps coming in and out, and he likes to touch things, and I've rung him up a couple times, and he's only bought drinks from me. But he's had me ring him up for like almost $1,000 worth of product.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's the guy out there. He's like a taller, kind of older white guy. Is that him?
Yeah. And
Okay.
he's like talking to himself, talking to other people, and they're coming in here and they're uncomfortable as well.
Armed with this information, the officer confronts the man, later identified as 69-year-old William Boozy.
Yeah, officer. I hate to ask this, and it's not your fault. I was arrested about 8 months ago.
Okay, back up for me a little bit,
Okay.
please.
I was arrested 8 months ago, and I spent 18 months in prison.
Part of this could be true. Mr. Boozy has been tried 10 times for various crimes from 2020 to 2023.
Which was not fun. I'm so glad to be out. But anyways, I'm suing the Volusia County Sheriff. I'm suing, this is all with my lawyer, it's currently underway.
What's your question? Just get to that.
If I sue the Port Orange Police Department and they give me $250,000, that's tax-free, right?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll have to talk to my accountant about that.
Okay.
Iwu has been unable to confirm whether Mr. Boozy has an accountant or a pending lawsuit. After this strange introduction, the officer returns to the matter at hand. That's when this encounter turns from bizarre to absolutely surreal.
I'm here because the employee in the smoke shop right here behind me says that you've been coming in and out and bothering her and the customers.
No. When she told me to be quiet and leave. And I said,
okay, well, she says you've been in and out multiple times and you won't leave the place alone. So, hang on, let me talk.
Okay.
Let me talk. And it's not a debate or a negotiation, okay?
No.
You are now trespassed from the store, which means you cannot go in there anymore.
Okay,
Do you understand that?
All right, then she'll have to set my stuff outside then.
What stuff?
I have $2,000 worth of merchandise that she's holding.
No, she said that she rung a bunch of stuff up for you and you never bought it. Okay.
Go ask her, you mother.
Okay.
Come over here and I'll kick the fuck out of you. Come on, mother.
Okay.
You think I can't do it? I know.
Don't
I
want
got
to do
a black
this.
belt in karate, a black belt in judo.
However, if you claim you have black belts in karate and judo, you probably don't.
You understand you're trespassing from the store, correct?
I'll take your goddamn gun and walkie-talkie.
Okay.
And I'll drive off in your patrol car.
Okay. You understand you're trespassing from the store, correct?
Yes, I understand, you mother. Now get that out of my face.
I'm 12 feet away from you, not in your face at all. Okay.
Luckily, Officer Rains is uninjured by the flying projectile.
Go ahead, arrest me. Arrest me.
Central Second Unit, Code 2.
Wait a minute.
No, put your hand behind your back.
Okay.
Put your hand behind your back right now.
God damn it.
You're under arrest.
All
Put your
right,
other hand behind your back
I'm
right now.
under arrest.
Put your other hand behind your back right now.
Okay.
Right now. Put your other hand behind your back.
Right. God damn it. Jesus Christ.
Put your hand behind your back right now.
You don't have to be so rough.
Sit up.
Okay.
Stand up. Come right
Okay.
here. Jesus. 5 Central. Mail under arrest. Need to call tight assault battery.
Well, this is another lawsuit. I'm suing you for $1 million, $10 million, whatever. Wait till my lawyer gets a hold of this. I'll be out in 30 minutes.
Okay.
Officer Rains shows immense bravery and dedication to duty by willingly going hands-on with Mr. Boozy, who claims to be well-trained in hand-to-hand combat.
Right now you're under arrest for battery on a law enforcement officer for throwing something at me.
Oh, piece of lunch.
Yeah, well, don't do it. Why would you throw something at me?
Because you pissed me off.
Well, there you go.
You're acting like a jerk.
5 Central. Someone's running Code 3 to me. I don't need that.
You're lucky I didn't have my pocket knife with me. I'd stab your. You'd be dead right now. You can write it all in the police report. I don't give a. The last thing I wanted to do is get arrested and go back to jail.
Then you shouldn't have thrown someone at a police officer. You're an idiot for doing that.
Well, I'll never do it again. I guarantee
Some
you
tells me
that.
that's not true.
You know, I won't even spit at it. I'll spit on the ground. This is ridiculous.
It sure is.
The energized encounter continues as other officers arrive on the scene.
Are you a nice cop? Are you the nice cop? Is it nice cop, bad cop time? I've been through it 1,000,000 times. I know the routine.
Stand up straight.
All right, hold on. Jesus, quit jerking me around. I will go. You know, I'm almost 70 years old, for Christ's sake, and I got arthritis. No, I know you got to arrest me, but Jesus Christ, can you take it a little bit easy?
You just listen. It's on our time, not your time.
I know that. I've been arrested like 7 or 8 times.
Then you should know better not throw stuff at a police officer.
I know.
Dumb.
All right. Ow, what's in my arm?
Have a seat in the car.
All right. I better leave. I'm fucking
Sit
take.
down, kick your
Well,
shoes
all
off.
right.
Kick your shoes off.
All right. Give me a minute.
Kick your shoes off.
Jesus Christ, man, you're a.
Keep your feet out.
Okay. You want me to take my pants off too?
No, if I wanted to, I'd tell you.
All right.
Keep your feet out.
Okay.
Keep your feet out. How hard is
Okay. Jesus, mother.
Get your feet out.
I'd be glad to go to jail. Get me to jail as fast as you can.
What's that?
After the suspect is put in the cruiser and Officer Rains starts typing his incident report, the other officers move to collect Mr. Boozy's belongings.
I can't see it. What a waste of a sandwich.
Shockingly, Mr. Boozy was actually being truthful, as the officers find a pocket knife among his possessions.
All right, into the garbage we go. Pocket knife.
As one officer moves to throw out the perishables in Mr. Boozy's possession, the other deputy gets more insight into the troubled man's mind.
Wow, this is it's a lot to take in, is what it is. He started a new business, and it is a success. The money is rolling in, baby.
Officer Rains is getting an earful at the same time, back at the squad car.
I'm going to come see you after I get out of jail this afternoon. When I'm out of jail 15 minutes, I'm going to bring your box of goodies. Some marijuana cookies, some baked beans, and a cake. Or a pie. What kind of pie? Cherry, peach, blueberry, preference?
Hey, was that backpack and those groceries, were those all yours over there on the bench?
Yes. If you could, can you pick it up for me, please, and put it in the backpack?
What? The groceries?
Yes.
No, they're going in the garbage.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And you're going to take the bicycle to police property?
Where's the bicycle at?
Pardon?
What bicycle?
A blue bicycle. It's a blue Schwinn.
I don't see that anywhere.
It's a $200 bicycle. I just bought it.
Where's it at?
It's right in front of the pizza shop.
No, there's no bike over there.
Well, somebody stole it already. I'll be suing you for that, too.
For us?
I'm suing. I already have a lot. I already have a $5 million.
Head inside the car.
Head
inside the car.
Okay. I already have a $5 million lawsuit against your police department.
You do?
I'll make it $100 million.
Yeah, you should.
Well, there actually is a blue bike located directly in front of the smoke shop, but based on Mr. Boozy's questionable level of credibility, it may be that the officer is skeptical as to whether the bike really belongs to him. Officer Rains decides he needs to take a minute to collect himself.
Dear God, he just doesn't stop.
He checks on the suspect to ensure he's okay before transporting him to jail.
Can you scratch my left eye?
On their way to jail, Mr. Boozy keeps nonsensically rambling.
Have an offer from Amazon for $100 million a year in salary, 3 months of paid vacation, full medical and dental coverage, and a private jet. Fly me anywhere in the world. Take my family and girlfriend and my missus. No, you get to speed. You got me here in record time. It's usually about 6 hours before I get my ass from So I'll take one, a measly $1 million off your own loss. And I'll knock $10 million off the city and $100 million off the county and $1 billion will take off from the state. That's a lot of change, my friend.
William A. Boozy was booked in the Volusia County Jail at 1:42 p.m. and charged with battery of a law enforcement officer. He was held without bond for over 2 months, but this was just the start of this adventure.
You too
While
baloney.
incarcerated, he continued to display erratic and violent behavior. On May 23rd, Boozy was cited by jail personnel. Inmate ripped clothing to shreds and made necklaces and bracelets. Inmate was counseled and directed not to destroy county clothing, in which he agreed for approximately 10 minutes before he did the same. Inmate's clothes were taken at this time. There were several more of these incidents before William Boozy was released from the Volusia County Jail on July 20th, 2023, and he would soon return. On September 22nd, 2023, William was again arrested for battery on a law enforcement officer. He wasn't granted bail, given his history of violent tendencies. He told a social worker shortly after his arrest, "Yeah, I want to kill the cop who arrested me. I'm going to chop his dick and balls off, chop his head off, throw it down the river, rip the arms and legs off, as well as, I'm an evil motherfucker. I'm going to dress like the devil and kill that cop. I'll cut his heart out and I might even eat it. I'll go live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok."
Dude, he forgot Twitch.
So they said, call my mom.
Super short stream. I have to go to bed, but I'll be on tomorrow. Thank you guys for watching. You're awesome. Amazing. Loved it. Super cool. See you later. Peace.